Scared little bitch, you don't like profanity, and the word fuck deeply offends you, don't listen. But if you want to be a hero in your life, check it out. Today's discussion will border on the broke mindset. When I say broke mindset, the immediate picture that would pop into the mind of many people is a money situation. And that's the last thing that I'm going to talk about. Money is a resource. Money's not power. Intellect is power. And once you get your intellect to a profit mindset, you will see the money flow into your life. Let's discuss the broke mindset, and let's discuss some of the symptoms of the broke mindset. Years ago, I worked for a company and things were going really bad. So they started firing people, myself included, and cutting back on expenses. Just cut. And that's the thing that people want the American government to do, is just cut, get rid of programs. And there are many narratives going off, but I'm not going to go into politics. I'm just going to use that as an example. In my opinion, instead of cutting back, we should be growing. The American dream, the pride, the heart of America was built and grew from manufacturing, building stuff, innovation. That is how we became such a great country, by making stuff. We've gone away from that, and since we've lost our way, we've come to the broke mindset. There's not enough money. We need to cut back. There's plenty of money. There's not enough direction. There's not enough leadership, and there's not enough profit mindset. Give you an example of a broke mindset. You hear on YouTube and in other places that people are mistrusting of paying for information because we live in a world where people think information should be free. I've made my living for the last 4 years selling information in the form of books, videos, ebooks, and now audiobooks. And there's a growing contingent, well, I can't say growing because it's always been there, of folks says, I'm not going to pay for information I could get for free. Now, this is the rub. I have spent money on personal development products since 1998. And the dividends and the payoffs from things that I bought in 1998, 99, Earl Nightingale's Lead the Field, have been far out of proportion to what I actually paid for them. See, this is the thing. Those who understand their worth, and this is a profit mindset, know that people will pay them for their information. If you have the broke mindset, you can have wonderful information, you can have wonderful products, but you are going to orientate yourself to either giving it away for free, or you're going to keep it really cheap because you feel, because of your mindset, not the mindset of the world, that it should be for that price point. I have a friend that I'm consulting with, and she's writing this book, and she was going to put it up in the ebook category for like $5. And I was like, I wanted to slap her. And I was like, no, you don't price your intellectual knowledge, your intellectual assets at $5. What you have to offer the world is worth $99 to $150 because it solves problems. And that's part of that mindset of, if it's a book or it's an audiobook, or if it goes here, it should be this price based on the broke mindset. Because people, if they had the money, they would spend it. They don't think they're going to have the money. The core part of the broke mindset, and this isn't to be confused with getting extraordinary value where you can, like if you go to a garage sale and buy something for $1 and sell it for $100. Two different concepts. The broke mindset is a contraction mindset. It's based on there is a limited amount of resources. There are people who use their resources extra judiciously, like the person who's worth $10 million but clips coupons and goes to thrift stores. That's a totally different mindset, because at some point, unless they inherited their money, they had a profit mindset of creating a service, a product, or something that brought money into their lives. Endemic of the broke mindset is whenever you have an issue or a challenge, you seek to reduce. You seek to be reductive. You seek to close the wagons, circle up, and protect yourself. Essentially, it's contract, and just shrink up. That's part of the broke mindset. Understand, this has nothing to do with money. It is mental before it's physical. So here's the situation. You want a new vehicle. So there are websites, there are car buying services. There are so many ways to try to get the most for the least amount of money. That doesn't always work out. I'm not saying you can't get a screaming deal. I know I did. But part of the broke mindset is it's not optional to get a screaming deal. It's mandatory to get a screaming deal. It's one thing if you're looking to save money. It's another thing if you have to. Because if you have to save money, you may not need to do the thing that you want to do because there's so much pressure on you. With the broke mindset, it is far more than money. I want you to think of people that are really, really tight. Really, really tight. And I want you to think of other areas of their life that they're equally tight. There doesn't seem to be an ironic coincidence that you have a Bill Gates or a Warren Buffett, folks who are fantastically wealthy, who are giving money away. This is part of the abundant mindset. And also, neither one of these guys set out to make money directly. They set out to corner a certain market segment. And the money was a byproduct. I should be really clear about that. The money was a byproduct of a larger goal. And when you have the broke mindset, it's harder to have a larger goal because your thinking is going to be very limited and it's going to be centered on saving money, trying to get the most out for the least. Whereas if you reverse your thinking and said, okay, I want X item, whatever X item is. And if you power up and say, just throwing out arbitrary numbers, X item is $10,000. And you know, for you to buy the item, it would be pressure. It would be a burden on your current budget. So you want this $10,000 item. What you first do is look to see if you can get it for $5,000 or even less somewhere, somehow. Now, with the abundant mindset, you still keep in mind that you want to get the item for a screaming deal, but instead of being dependent upon your current income, you say, what can I do that will create an income stream for this $10,000 item? If you have the broke mindset, you won't think like that. And that's why you'll continue to be broken mentally, spiritually, and fiscally. When I got my new vehicle, and I struggled with it because I could have got it the day that I saw it, but being in the storage auction business taught me that there are better ways to obtain items in this world. And I thought about it and I said, okay, if I get this vehicle, it's going to be a big swing. I haven't had a car payment in years. I mean, over a decade. And it's also going to be a swing in terms of the insurance. And it's going to be a swing in terms of the amount of fuel consumed. So I'm going to go from not having this to roughly, when you factor up everything, fuel, extra, $1,200. It's a $1,200 swing. So I created a business to help me deal with that $1,200 swing by the name of Reselology. Thus far, and it's just its first few weeks, it has helped me reduce that $1,200 swing by $810 to date. And that's just the first few weeks, not even the first full month in terms of mileage and other things. That's the abundant mindset. Understand, if you want something, get it. If you want to send your kids to private school, figure out a way other than getting a part-time job or asking someone. Think of, here's an idea. If a lot of these schools have scholarships, it is, I'm going to say, rare that the parent that goes to the school and says, look, I do X, Y, and Z professionally. Do you need those services? Can we provide some type of equal barter? If you are a person with extraordinary skill sets and you may not make a lot of money, but you have the track record, you may be able to trade your occupational currency for tuition. That's the abundant mindset. The abundant mindset is ask, how can I get? What can I give? As long as you continue to think in that manner, you'll progress. Another part of the broke mindset is a fascination, almost a preoccupation with those that have. There are very many ways to see where a celebrity may live or to actually even get their net worth online. It's fun. I've done it myself. But when you know that P. Diddy or X amount of football player or X basketball player, when you know that their financial scheme better than you know your own, you're preoccupied with the wrong things. I was going on a date a long time ago, and I was sitting at the table in what started off as a wonderful evening. Then the girl said, yes, you have great credit. As my Uncle J-Rock would say to music, stop like a mofo. I was like, what do you mean? How did you know this? Well, essentially she had paid to have my credit report pulled. I was completely offended. I was completely put off, and I never spoke to her again. She was really preoccupied with the wrong thing. A person can have fiscal wealth, money, assets, very high net worth, and internally could be morally and spiritually bankrupt. I think to be both, to be a person of high spiritual worth, high intellectual worth, high emotional worth, and to have money is a great thing. But to have money and have those internal things that money cannot buy missing is a recipe for drug addiction, alcoholism, internal loneliness, and so many bad things. And as I've said before, most of the problems that the average person has are internal. So all the money in the world, even good people coming into your life with money, are not going to help you with those problems because you're broken from the inside out. There are people who have a lot of money but are mentally broke. That's what I'm saying. The money is just part of it. It's really not even part of it. It doesn't even have anything to do with it, because you can be spiritually wealthy and have modest fiscal wealth and be a very wealthy person because you have peace of mind, you have love, and you have stability. You have mental stability. There are many people who don't have mental stability. They're on this tangent, they're on this tangent, they're up, they're down, they're depressed, they're happy, they're mad. Mental stability is a wonderful thing to have. When I achieved that level of being able to deal with things, because I used to be a hothead. I used to be that person, someone would say something and do something, and then I would just react. I learned how to balance myself. Things that it used to be, and I was so mentally weak, someone could say something to me that was true or not because they had the gall to say it. It could knock me off my axis for anywhere from a few hours to a few months, because I would dwell on it and I would think about it. And they just put a little seed into my brain. But because I didn't do the work of filling my brain with good stuff, it was a fertile ground for any type of seed. So when you start feeding your brain the proper things and you start paying attention to your emotions and you start, because this is part of going from being mentally broke. When you start to build yourself up internally, read good things, acknowledge your weaknesses, and work on them, you go from being mentally broke to mentally wealthy. And then there's going to be a direct proportion of what happens in your physical life. You will be amazed at if you spend 6 months of really working on you, your mental playground, your mental sandbox. You'll be surprised at how the world starts to respond to you. And the only thing that you did was work on the most critical part of you, your spiritual world. That is the deal with being mentally broke. There are people who are striving for money. Another problem or another sign of mentally broke is, I got to get money. I got to be paid. I am worth X amount of dollars. If the world is not paying you X amount of dollars in any capacity, through your own business, through your occupation, you are not worth what you think you are worth, because there's no proof in the pudding. I can understand if you're building and the world hasn't discovered and you're just at that point, but if you are just going based on ego and something that I think many parents are really doing wrong with their children, they're telling them children that you're the best person in the world. You're awesome. And there's no proof. And these kids are growing up and they're going for jobs and they're used to being told that they're the best for doing absolutely nothing. And they expect it to continue. And then they run into someone like me or an employer who cannot play that game, and then they're crushed and they're going back home to mommy and daddy and they're just like, what's going on? Mom, Dad, you told me I was the best. You told me I was awesome. There aren't too many people out there that are believing the same things that you told me, and I'm doubting. I'm a little doubtful. I'm 28 years old and I'm living at home with you. If I was the best, why don't I have my own house and BMW like that asshole down the corner that you didn't let me play with when I was a kid, because his parents let him fall down and they let him get cuts and bruises and they spanked him. You never spanked me, Mom and Dad, but he got tore up. I mean, sometimes he came to school with marks on him. We just thought he was abused. But for some reason, he has this house and this business and this really hot wife who worships him. What's going on, Mom and Dad? What happened, Mom and Dad? I mean, if I am the best, why isn't the world treating me as if that is true? That's another level of being mentally broken. You have a check that your reality cannot cash. You've got this check that was given to you by your parents or your peer group, and then you become an adult and you have to go out there and make these things happen, and you don't have the skill sets. You don't have the emotional currency. You don't have the occupational currency. You don't even have the networking currency. You are just a smart person with no skills and no assets. And the world will treat you just like that unless you're one of those fortunate people that's in this network or your parents are loaded and they can facilitate this fantasy until you take that dirt nap. And if you're not in that clique, the world is a scary place. It's ugly. And you feel bamboozled and you feel hoodwinked and you feel cheated. And to a degree you were, but not by the world, but by people who claim to love you, because they did you a terrible disservice by pumping up your ego with air and fancy sentiments versus hard-earned accomplishment. The new economy will reward people who actually start, execute, and finish things. That's who's going to be rewarded. Now, what's funny about this is the old economy rewarded people that did the same thing. So, there's some things that never go out of style, and that's starting something, executing well, and finishing it. The more that you do that, the more success you will experience in your life. If you're a broke person, you may feel that socialist and communist ideals are the way to go, that those who have should share their resources. I am not going to say that all of that is 100% bad, because I think a society that is wealthy, that has many people that are really doing well, can help some people who have honestly fallen on hard times or need help or be vested in the education of children. But we live in a country that is so fractured politically, spiritually, and educationally that you can have that set up, but because of the corruption, the people who need the resources the most are not getting them. In theory, the ideal is awesome. I can even buy into part of it, but the practical application is an abomination. It is terrible. So if you're a self-actualized person, to go from the broke mindset to the abundant mindset, you must work on self, take care of yourself and you and yours. Because the world at large doesn't give a fuck. Unless you are 20 little beautiful little kids that were shot by a madman. Or you were a pretty little girl that was in the inauguration parade and you were shot down by animals. If you've noticed, from Trayvon Martin to those tragic children that were killed by that madman, that the more attractive the victim is, the higher level of sympathy that comes forth. I don't mean to be mean, I mean to be factual. Every day, people are shot, murdered, kidnapped, raped. And if the victim is not close to the all-American ideal of attractiveness, their stories, their tragic endings, the crimes done against them, they dissipate into the air. From the Holloway girl that disappeared in Aruba with the guy. I mean, if you've got the look, you get the sympathy. In my world, I think that is horribly wrong. Which just once again goes to why you must develop the abundant mindset. If something happens to you or yours, and you have the abundant mindset, you have the resources to make sure that your family member or whatever is handled or helped. But if you have the broke mindset, you're dependent upon the goodwill and charity of others. Sometimes it comes, most frequently it does not. When I had the broke mindset, I was a victim of that same mindset. It was some of the most financially challenging years of my entire life. And to make it really horrible, I was an adult. I had experienced success. I had experienced comfort and luxury. And to be living in some desolate place with people that were so unlike me in thought process and background felt like a criminal sentence, as if I had gone before the judge of life and was sentenced to bullshit. Month after month. I had a pity party. I did the woe is we. And the deeper I sunk into the broke mindset, the worse my life became. One day I had had enough. I couldn't deal with it anymore. I was tired of living there, and I came up with Scheme Incorporated. And essentially, to give it to you in a nutshell, I concocted a background, an experience level I didn't have to get a job that I thought I was qualified, and I pulled it off. And I moved up 4 or 5 social economic levels in 2 weeks. About 6 weeks. I took action. I sat down in that room one night and I actually wrote out some goals, came up with a plan, bought an answering service. Back then, cell phones, people still use pagers back then. Got this answering service and created my own fictional company to grant me a reference to get a job that I really wanted. I created 6 different resumes. And see, this is the thing. I was living in that house with the crackheads. Gunfire at night. Understand, I grew up in a small town in Alabama. That shit didn't happen when I was a kid. My town was boring. The fire truck would come around at Christmas time and pass out fruit baskets. There was the carnival. October meant the fair was coming to the fairgrounds. You can go get a candy apple and see your friends and enjoy yourself and eat cotton candy and popcorn. That was my childhood. There was no drugs. There was no gunfire. I experienced that as an adult. And because I had the sensibilities and the perspective to understand that there was something horribly wrong about living like that, when it finally clicked, when it finally came together, I used resources that I had always had. I own these resources. I just wasn't motivated enough because I had the broke mindset. I was waiting on a superhero to come to my life and rescue me. The broke mindset leads you to think that you can't save yourself, that someone else must come to you with some magic jelly beans. Consume the magic jelly beans and then your life will be fine. But the problem is, if you never solve the original problem, it will come back. Sometimes bigger, stronger, because you never addressed root causes of the situation. It's like people who break up and get back together again, and break up and get back together again, and break up and get back together again, and break up and get back together again. The root cause of the dissolution of the relationship is never solved. And at some point, it always comes back to haunt the relationship. And this can be a romantic relationship. This can be a friendship. This can be a working relationship. Until those core problems are solved, it's hard to move forward. When you're in possession of the broke mindset, you turn off a large part of your brain because you're looking outside for solutions to your problem. You're looking for something that's going to save you. You're looking for something that's going to be a very quick, a very fast, a very speedy solution to a problem that may have taken anywhere from weeks to years to manifest itself into your life. Nothing replaces hard work and experience. Nothing. Even if you were to win the lottery, like someone I believe won $600 million, if this person doesn't put certain financial goals, financial tools, financial instruments in place, even at, I think the payouts like 300 some million, then taxes, it's any way you look at it, it's a phenomenal sum of money. If they do something silly, like buy a palace, buy a few islands, and get a Gulfstream jet that roughly runs about 50 to 100 grand a month to maintain, they could be broke in 5 to 7 years. Did you hear me? Even at that high level of money, they could be broke because the broke mindset leads you to do dumb shit. You could take a person with the abundant mindset and they can win half that money, and then the kids of their 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 kids will benefit. When I had my business, I wrote my rent check out to a trust. My landlord had put a collection of 25, I think he told me, either 25 or 30 properties in this trust. All of the buildings were paid for. It was a trust for his 2 children. They didn't have to work. I knew what my rent was, and it was 30. Just one day I was sitting around and it came to me that probably this trust was generating anywhere from a bad month, 150,000, up to maybe 300 some thousand per month. Per month. This was a man that came from the old country who had nothing when he came to America. Nothing. I learned a lot from my landlord. A lot. And he was a G. Because the first wife had passed on and he had married a significantly younger woman. I need to check on him and see if he's still doing well. But it when you see the fruit of an abundant mindset, an abundant mindset doesn't mean that you will get it tomorrow. It just means that at some point you will get it. A broke mindset is now or never. The broke mindset person will go out and spend $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 on an article of clothing, shoes, or jewelry when they only make $1,500 per month. They will spend double their monthly income, over 10% of their annual income, on one thing to make themselves feel good because they don't have hope. They don't have confidence that the future will be bright. So it's all about doing it now, making yourself feel good now, leading that type of life. Understand, the broke mindset, first and foremost, is a lack of faith. It's a lack of confidence, which leads to a lack of experience. Notice the chain? When you don't have faith in yourself, frequently you do not even try. And you sit back and you commiserate with misery. You sit back and you look at other people who are doing well and you sneer and you poke out your lips and you think that life gave them some magic jelly beans and left you out. You feel cheated. You felt like not special. One of the powers of gaining the abundant mindset is you will draw people to you. People will come to you strongly. You will develop an energy and a pull that will kind of shock you at times because you just think of yourself as regular. Because in the process of developing the abundant mindset, you shift your internal energy so much that it's new energy. And as you're shifting this energy, you're flushing out the old energy. So essentially, you're reincarnating yourself by changing how you think. You're making a new you. And the new you is going to draw, if you're a woman, it's going to draw the proper guy for you. If you're a man, it's going to draw the proper woman for you. If you're gay or a lesbian, once again, it will draw the proper mate to you because you're working from the inside out, not the outside in, like a place setting on the table. When you develop this energy, chicks you couldn't get when you were in shape, you can get easily. People that didn't want to do business with you are throwing money at you. Folks who never spoke to you all of a sudden want to be your best friend. That is the power of working on yourself and eradicating the broke mindset. Because once again, and I've said it several times in this podcast, and I'm going to say it one more again, it's not about money. It's about your spirituality and your emotional state. It's about your mindset. If you were to pull off a complete reincarnation of your energy in 30 days, in 6 months, you may have a new address, a new vehicle, a new career. That is how powerful shifting your mindset, your belief systems is. When you hold on to the broke mindset, when you are part of that, I don't have what I want group, I don't think I have the faith or the ability to get what I want, you start to jump on that bandwagon of trying to bully other people or feel entitled to the resources, to the anything that people have that you don't have. You feel that you should get a piece of that just because you live, just because you exist, just because you think that they should do it. because that's the right thing to do. And I'm going to tell you something. The right thing to do is for you to start working on your mental playground. It's up to you to go ahead and sand off the rust and put some new coat of paint on the monkey bars and the Ferris wheel and to cut the grass and to paint the fence and to do the landscaping. That is up to you. That's no one's job but yours. Happiness is an inside job. Love is an inside job. If you are broke, you can become unbroke by changing how you think. And the number one thing you have to do is to stop hating what you don't have. Because it's an emotional pacifier that if you hate it and you push it away so you don't have to look at it and experience the hurt of not having, then you will never have the thing that you truly want because you're mentally weak. I hired a guy that I could not stand, but he was good at what he did. Couldn't stand him. And I realized, and I was at a point in my life where I was mature enough to realize it wasn't him, it was me. He didn't do anything, but there was just something about him that was just like, I don't like this guy. But on the other side, it wasn't a warning feeling. It wasn't, I'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about. When I lived in that boarding house, one night I was walking back from the train station and this car passes me. It's a 1967 Impala with the faux drop top. And before the car even got to me, I smelled the aroma of weed. I mean, they were just, and the car was driving really, really slow. And the car passed me, and then someone in the car said, "Who the fuck you think you are?" And there was laughter. I didn't think nothing of it. And I just kept walking. And then it was like, "Answer me, motherfucker." At that point, the hair on the back of my neck rose and something said, "Run." I didn't question it. I hit the corner on People Street and there was these townhouses. Well, not so much townhouses, but single family houses. And there was this huge fence. And I leaped that fence, laid on the ground, spread eagle, and they went by. And it's like, where'd he go? Where'd that motherfucker go? Where'd that motherfucker go? And they kept going. And as the music faded into the background and my heart stopped beating, I got up and I went home. When I was dealing with this guy, I didn't have that feeling. I had that feeling before. I knew what it was like to have that fight or flight feeling. It was more like, just there's somebody. But I hired him anyway. He was a great employee and he did a great job. If I was experiencing the broke mindset, I never would have hired him because I would have had no faith in my decision-making ability. Because one of the best ways to learn how to hire people is to hire people and go through the bad experiences and then make the mistakes, because then you can see trends and patterns. And I'd hired people before and I made mistakes and I realized it was me and not him. But when you work on your mental playground, when you work on going from broke to unbroke, you'll be able to see these things and recognize them for what they are. Because there are many people that have projected their fears, their issues, their psychosis on other people and think it's the world, and it's not the world. It's you. If you go to 6 different cities and you're treated the same, it's you. So that's just something for you to think about. That is something for you to take a moment and realize that if you want to have the life that you want, it's yours. If you think you can have it. If you're willing to face the dark corners of your personality and move forward, you can make those changes. Because as long as you are mentally broke, I don't care how much money comes into your life, you will still feel lack. And you'll never be satisfied. And you'll never be happy. And you'll look to solve those in as many external situations as possible. Just for something for you to chew on. And if you want to start on that path of becoming unbroke, get my book, The Hustler Mindset, Pimping Your Mind for Success. that audiobook will give you some of the tools to put your life on the proper track. And with this is Glenn and Cameron, and I will see you on the good side.